up with the world? It's your boy CBJ. You are listening to the Champs Podcast. Here's my co-host.
This is Coach Rudy, and we are here live in Dallas, Texas, ready to get at it.
Yes, sir. We are back. Last week we had Super Bowl.
Something like that. Man, so look, I know some of y'all are wondering what's been going on. So let me first say, COVID's a bitch.
It is.
I mean, not like I had it or nothing, because I didn't. I'm just saying COVID is a bitch. I think y'all should all accept that.
Yes.
Now, all right, so why we haven't been on this thing?
I was here.
Yeah, you were. Look, I could say that I was in jail, but that would not be accurate. Prison either.
You could say that.
I could.
Were you
Maybe I will. But right now I won't. Look, there's a lot going on. And because of that, we decided, let's make them suffer.
Now, there's just a lot going on. And the season's over. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
We focus a lot of our, yes, it's a sports podcast and we talk about other sports, but most of what we talk about is football. The NFL season is over. Some of you guys have asked us to cover some of the other football leagues, and maybe we haven't gone in on those yet. We
can touch on them, but to be dead honest, right now that's not where our focus is.
Right.
So we might circle back around to it. Give us a week or two, and we'll get you some info on that. Let's get straight to the Super Bowl, though.
Let's get back into the Super Bowl. I know you guys don't know what happened, but spoiler alert, who won the Super Bowl?
The Dallas Cowboys.
Of what season?
1992.
Okay, but are we talking about the 2022 season that just ended?
Shit. Okay, my bad. I got my decades a little bit confused. Yeah, so Kansas City Chiefs put it down, got that dub, solidified themselves as a team on the verge of being classified as a legitimate, what are they called? Dynasty?
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Look, to be honest, they could be considered dynasty as is, because some of the ones that have done it only got 2 dubs.
I mean, if nobody else gets more than that, I mean, it is your dynasty.
Yeah,
like truth be told, like if you talk about decades where no other team gets any repeats and you're the only one,
yeah,
it's your dynasty.
Realistically. But yeah, so Kansas City, they did their thing. Look,
I just want to say it's funny because Patrick was saying he didn't want to call it a dynasty at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But he said you guys could call it that. If you guys didn't catch the end of the game speech, that's what he said.
Yeah, he really did. But look, Kansas City won that Super Bowl, and there was a lot of outcry from people who were upset or rooting for Philly or East Coast bias bullshit that were saying, I hate it the way it ended. The refs gave it to them. Look, the Super Bowl was won by the better team.
Yeah.
Kansas City had the better quarterback.
Yep.
Kansas City has been there before. They've done that before.
Yep.
Their coach has been in the NFL for umpteen years, and
multiple teams have at least made it there.
And it's taken them to conference championships, Super Bowls. When you look at
the more experienced team was definitely.
And when you watch the first half, even though they were down by multiple scores,
yeah,
they controlled what they wanted. They knew they had time.
Right.
The only doubt that anyone really should have had was when you saw Patrick Mahomes injure his leg.
When he limped off at halftime?
But to be honest, when that happened, I thought, so long as he comes back, he's going to win this thing.
Yeah.
If he really is hurt, which I doubt that it's to the extent that it's going to keep him out.
Right.
he's gonna win this, and it's gonna add to his legend.
Yep.
And sure enough, that's what happened.
It's hard for me to remember that half episode that I did without you, but I want to say I probably talked about this because people were saying how. I know I touched on the fact that they were saying how Patrick's been to 3 Super Bowls and he's only got 2 rings, but at the time he hadn't even played the new game yet, which was stupid. And
So they were saying saying he's been to 3 and he only's got 1 championship.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he hasn't played the 3rd one yet, morons.
Yeah, I know I touched on that, but then they were trying to say how Philly was going to be the dynasty because if they would have won this, right? But the thing about that me and you have talked about was that team wasn't the same team that went. Like, the core of Kansas City having the 3 Super Bowls that they've been to was still Patrick Mahomes, still Reed, Travis Kelce. Yeah, like the core players are still there.
You are missing your star receiver.
Yeah.
But at the same time, statistically, Patrick Mahomes had one of his best years.
Yeah.
And probably his best year in the last 3, statistically speaking. And that was without the stud receiver. He changed the way he plays the game because he changed the skill set of his receivers.
Yeah. Patrick catches a lot of flack because, his rookie or his first year, I won't call it his rookie year, but his first year as the starting quarterback, he threw 50 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And ever since then,
there's really nowhere to go but down.
Yeah. And ever since then, now we have a year of footage on the kid. He's done somewhere between 20 to 25 touchdowns, which
to 40. Like he's in
statistically it's 20 25 touchdowns a season.
All right, you keep talking. I'm going to look it up because I think you're wrong.
Okay. But nonetheless, they say that he's gone down or whatever. My point is that I'm making is when you do 50 your first year, it's kind of hard for you to continue that as they get more game footage on you, more familiar with how you play. And the thing that me and you talked about, and that's not the season that just ended, but the season before that, was that he had to adjust because they had enough game footage on him that he had to get better. His timing was being caught. They were starting to see the little chinks in his armor.
So, because I like being right, he threw 50 touchdowns in his first year starting.
Okay.
Followed up with 26.
Okay.
Followed that up with 38.
Okay.
Followed it up with 37. Followed it up with 41.
All right.
That's why I said between 26 and 40-ish.
Okay.
So you understand.
Okay, Rudy. Again, you're the stats person. I'm just
Damn
the one.
straight I am. Look, all that to say, when you drop from 50 to 26, look, when he threw 26, how many picks do you think he threw?
I don't know. I don't
5.
remember. Yeah.
Then he had 38 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Yeah.
37 and 13, 41 and 12. When you look at what he's done,
yeah,
those are awesome numbers.
The
Dallas Cowboys all-time single season touchdowns thrown, and the Cowboys are one of the most vaunted teams, is like 38 or 39, and Dak holds that record.
Yeah.
In 2 different seasons, Patrick has eclipsed those numbers.
Yeah. I will say, the other thing is, going into this, Patrick only lost 16 games.
Total.
So, to question whether or not 6 years in the league, only lost 16 games, while everyone's saying how he's just not as good as he was or he's overrated.
Look, let's cut out all the BS. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback to have ever played the game.
Yes.
If we want to qualify it, let's say for 6 seasons.
Okay.
He's the best quarterback to have ever played it for 6 seasons. Does that mean he's the most accomplished through the first 6 seasons? No. Why? Because you can say maybe some other quarterbacks had more championships during their first 6 seasons than him. Okay? But that said, that doesn't mean that they were better than him during that stretch. He has not ended a season before the conference championship game.
Right.
Not a season that he was the starter.
Right.
Before the conference championship game.
Right.
So it either ends in the Super Bowl or in the game before the Super Bowl.
Right.
So there's not another quarterback that in that time period could say that. Because you can go back to Tom Brady. Won a Super Bowl with the Patriots.
Yeah.
The next season, they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
So when you look and you compare him to any other quarterback, I don't remember if Aikman won his, let me see, he won 92, 93, and 95, right?
Yeah.
He came into the league in 89, though?
Yes.
So that's in the first 7 seasons.
Yeah.
3 titles in 7 seasons.
Right.
Something like that, right? So, okay, when the season starts, you know what people are going to say? Well, there's been more quarterbacks who've won more Super Bowls in their first 7 seasons than he has because he only has 2 wins.
Yeah.
But he's in his fucking 7th season.
I mean, at the end of the day, people just didn't want him to win. A lot of people don't like Kansas City being that team right now.
It's a Midwest team.
Yeah.
Why do you want a Midwest team, a small city,
Yeah.
to have that
shine?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, this was a historical game for the league. 2 black quarterbacks playing at the same time.
Yeah. First time ever.
2
black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. 2 brothers going toe to toe.
Yep. Though they don't play the same position, even still. And I heard a lot of people they were hoping that it would have been the Diggs brothers going against each other in the Super Bowl. They thought that would have been an epic thing to
It would have.
see.
It would have because especially because
would have
they
to cover
play
each
against
other.
each other.
Yeah.
So look, the Super Bowl was what it was. Kansas City won. People cried about a holding call that solidified the game
Do you
for
think
them.
that was a factor for it? Like, do you think that if had he not got that holding call?
They got the holding call because it was a hold.
Yeah.
But take that away,
Yeah.
the way they were going,
Yeah.
Kansas City was going to still win that game. They probably convert that very next play
Right.
to a first down.
Without it,
Anyways.
right? Yeah.
And why do I say that? Because Patrick Mahomes last year scored with 13 seconds left.
Right.
13 seconds.
Yep.
Received the ball, scored.
Yeah.
13 seconds. So
Yep.
you trying to tell me that the same person is not capable of that very next play converting?
The truth is, I've seen very few quarterbacks that are as young as him play as cold as him. And I say this in the sense that, like, ice in his veins. Like, when you get down to, like, because I get nervous as a spectator watching these games of, like,
the
if
man is sick.
yeah. And that's my point. Like, like when we watch Maher kicking, you could see he was so shaken. And if I don't make this, I'm screwed. But that's the kicker's job. The kicker's job is to come in clutch in those moments and get those. Like your job is to kick the ball.
Have full 100% belief that you're making it.
Yes. And the same thing with the quarterback. You are the field general. You are the one that is getting the ball to where it needs to, keeping the game going or ending the game.
Let's rewind the clock. How much do you know about Joe Montana?
Um,
About a thimble's worth, right?
Yeah,
You don't know a great deal about Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Both you and I were very young when Joe Montana was at his heyday, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about him in the Super Bowl, what he said about John Candy?
No.
Okay. So he's in the playoffs. If I remember correctly, it was the Super Bowl, but it might have been the NFC Championship. So they're driving down. Time's running out. They're in a huddle, and he's with his team. They're all nervous because they got time for one more play or whatever like that, and he looks at the guys in the huddle and says, "Huh, look, there's John Candy in the stands." He's like, that's kind of cool. Then he calls the play. Everyone just kind of relaxes, and then he makes it happen. They win the game.
Right.
That's why they called him Joe Cool. Because that motherfucker, with time running out, looks up, sees John Candy, and just makes everyone else relax.
Right.
You got players who can either rev up the team when they need to,
Yeah.
or calm them down when they need to.
Right.
And then you got players who can't do that, who don't know how to do that.
Right.
And that's the vast majority of them.
Right.
What makes someone in that category of special is those little things that Joe Cool did,
Right.
that Patrick Mahomes does.
Right.
That's what separates those two. I have not put Tom Brady into the same breath as those other guys.
Yeah.
Because Tom Brady is not them. You don't hear those stories from him,
No.
of him. When you look at Tom Brady, he's the most accomplished quarterback of all time
now. Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Accomplished does not equal best.
Right.
If it did, then there would be no question that Bill Russell is the best basketball player of all time. Because he had 11 championships in 13 years.
Right.
How often do you hear someone say Bill Russell is the best?
I can't say I've ever heard that name brought up.
I mean, you might get somebody that's 80 years old say that about him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing with Kareem. Like, everyone was talking about him recently, and I've never heard any... I've always heard Kobe, I've always heard LeBron, I've always heard Michael. No one else ever talked about...
You've even heard Magic, you even heard Bird.
Yeah.
But people don't talk about Kareem like that.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is people hated Kareem. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, but whatever. Put that aside.
That's not the...
Put that aside.
Yeah.
So when we look at Patrick Mahomes, we're watching the best quarterback play that has ever played.
Yeah, like I said, that the as cool as he plays it, like, you don't see him sweating. That's a special skill set for you to be able to have the game slow enough that you're not even worried about the
He
times.
gets more calm the more hectic the situation.
Right. So, the other thing I want to say as far as for the outcome of that game, besides the fact that he was as cool as an ice cube, is I'm pretty sure I said it on that half episode where I said you have a unexperienced quarterback going in here against someone that's been here before. Not only has he been here before, he's been here a couple of times before. He's been in big games before. He knows how to weather a mistake. And so everyone talks about that hold, which the hold I didn't look at it as a issue whether they called it or they didn't, because I seen another hold that I would have called over the hold that they were talking about personally. But take that aside, the player himself said that he was holding. So anyone that wants to say it wasn't fair, he shouldn't have been called on it, he admitted that he was holding. But the factor that I think happened that made the Eagles lose was Hurts.
Turnover.
Yeah. Was Hurts lost his own confidence, which is what me and you always talk about when you're talking about any sport, when you're talking about...
Rewind that. Before you even get into the idea of confidence. All season long, we heard comments about certain players throwing interceptions and how that was going to cost their team.
Yeah.
All season long, we heard that. Right?
Cowboys, yeah.
Cowboys, Dak, Buffalo.
Yeah.
They didn't really say that about Allen, even though he was throwing just as many picks as Dak was, right?
Yeah.
They weren't saying that it was going to cost them because they were in love with him. Like, maybe the last 2 weeks of the season, people started saying that. But to be dead honest, they were ignoring that.
Yeah.
Well, while all that was going on, I was saying, Philly's turning the ball over. Their stats show that they're fumbling the ball a lot.
Right.
You fumble the ball, that's just as hurtful as an interception.
Right.
It's a turnover.
Right.
If they fumble the ball and their quarterback is fumbling the ball a little bit, now maybe he's not losing them, but if he's fumbling them, then they can be lost.
It's a factor. Yep, it does make a difference.
And so he fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
And Kansas City capitalized on it. Why? Because they're the fucking better team.
Yeah.
All right.
But as
what more you got on them?
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure in my episode I did say how can he weather an interception, a fumble, or something. The more experienced players, they can weather those mistakes like that. Had Patrick thrown an interception, I don't think it would have bothered him any. I think he would have been just fine. And I just want to say, because you brought up Josh Allen, that Skip is not out, or has never been all in on Josh Allen. He's always been a little suspect. Which, if you watch Skip Bayless ever, he's never said that he didn't have faith in him. He talks about how he's got an arm on him.
And there's just something about him.
Yeah. But after he didn't make it to the Super Bowl again, now he's just like, I just don't have any faith in him. I just don't think he can get the job done. And I think that's funny. And to your point about those interceptions, you're right. Dak made 5 more interceptions to Josh Allen's interceptions last year. But everyone was talking about Dak and how horrible he was.
And when you look at how many fumbles were had by quarterbacks like Hurts and other running quarterbacks, I think Josh Allen fumbled the ball quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
And now, once again, sometimes he falls on them or whatever have you. But there's a difference. When you throw an interception, it don't usually bounce back into your hands afterwards.
Yeah.
But when you fumble it, sometimes you can land on it. You make up your mistake right then and there, get lucky. Or
typically because nobody wants to hit you because you are
the quarterback.
You have a lot more opportunity to get back to the ball before.
Yeah. But we look at all that, and you had people complaining.
Yeah, let's move on from that. I'm just
good,
but to piggyback a little bit off of that, with the season being over, I had this argument with somebody about, is Mahomes going to be the face of the franchise moving forward after this?
You mean of the NFL?
Yes,
he should be, but he's not going to be.
Right? I agree. I don't think that that's going to be. I think they're going to probably take like.
They want a white boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
That's exactly who I think they're gonna be all in on him.
Look, they were 2 years ago when he was drafted.
Yeah.
And to be dead honest,
or Burrow, I think it'll be either one of those two. They're gonna say that this is the
look. Trevor's the real deal.
Yeah,
he's a good quarterback. You and I said that last year, and that's why we expected them to be a little bit better last year.
Yeah.
Sooner than what had happened. But then a lot of people were out on him this year until he makes that little run at the end.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is for real, but that doesn't mean he's as good as Patrick Mahomes.
Joe Burrow's
for real.
Yeah.
doesn't mean he's better than Patrick Mahomes.
Right. And that's my point. I was like, don't be surprised we get this new Madden and they say, oh, you know what? We decided to give it to Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
Look, my personal opinion, when you look at who's the best quarterbacks,
Yeah.
I think first you got Patrick.
Okay.
Second, you got Burrow.
Okay.
And then you're probably looking at Herbert because of his talent.
Okay.
Not because of his accomplishments,
Right.
but because of his talent. Anyone who's putting Josh Allen or Trevor Lawrence up there, or anyone other than Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson won an MVP,
Yeah.
is just a fucking idiot. Because if you're putting any of those guys up there, you got to put Dak right there.
Do you know that's a hot take? Nobody wants to believe that Dak is still in the top 5, even if you. The numbers are what they are. You can hate him if you want to, but the fact of the matter is, his stats and his that he's just there.
From the quarterbacks that are in the NFL right now,
Yeah.
Foles is a backup.
Yeah.
He won a Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
You got Mahomes, starter.
Yeah.
2 Super Bowls.
Yep.
Who else has won a Super Bowl?
What's his
Russell?
name? Russell, yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Who else you got?
Who was it? He played for New York this year. It wasn't
Hold on. You got Rodgers with 1.
yeah.
Nick Foles, Patrick Mahomes, Russell
The guy
Wilson.
you didn't like him. He played for Baltimore.
Flacco.
Flacco. Yeah, that's it.
You got Flacco,
And
who's
Stafford.
also a backup,
And Stafford.
and Stafford, whose career may be over.
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks with 1 Super Bowl. 2 of which are clearly relegated as backups.
Yes.
1 in Russell Wilson, who had his worst career year.
Yeah.
Rodgers, who had his worst career year.
Yeah.
Stafford, who didn't finish the season.
Yeah.
The only quarterback in the NFL that has a Super Bowl win that you could say is in his prime is Patrick effing Mahomes.
Yep.
Outside of Patrick Mahomes,
Yep.
you can't tell me that there's a quarterback in the NFL who, A, has a Super Bowl, and B, is statistically better than Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I think on my half episode I talked about how Foles is a backup, and yeah, Flacco did an okay job for his team. Not that he did great. He barely had I think just under a winning season. I don't even think he had an actual winning season. But that was because everyone was trying to say how the Cowboys needed a winning quarterback, and I had to run down who had fucking winning, who was in the league that you could have, and I went through all those same points that you just went through. But let's move on.
Okay.
So now, go ahead.
So let's go to what happened since the Super Bowl with Philly and with Kansas City. Philly lost their offense. What?
Both
Did they
coordinators.
lose their offensive and defense coordinator
both.
and several other coaches?
Yes. So this is why I think Philly is going to take a hard drop. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think if you lose a coordinator, whether it is an offense or defense, it's hard to bounce back from just one of them.
It really is. When you lose one,
Yeah.
it's a challenge.
So to
You
lose
lose
both
two?
of them, yeah.
And several of the other coaches.
Yeah. So one of them wound up going to Indy, and one of them wound up going to Arizona. I don't remember which one went where. I just remember one went to each one of those places. So I feel like Philly, and we'll probably touch on that when we get to reloading up for the new season, that's a big challenge that Philly is going to have to do when we talk about teams that went to the Super Bowl and who has the harder challenge?
I'm going to tell you why I have a problem with this. Because Kansas City has had possibly the best offense outside of the statistics that say the Cowboys have had the best offense.
Yeah.
They've probably had the best offense in the last 5 years.
Okay.
With Bieniemy being that offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And Bieniemy was not hired as a head coach.
Right.
He had to take a job in Washington.
Yeah.
As an OC.
Yeah.
Just so he can get out from under the shadow
of Reed
and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. So I'm glad you got to that point because that was where I was going to go with this too. Is I think the long game for Bieniemy is I don't know that Rivera is going to get to finish the season, but if he does finish the season, I think Bieniemy takes over the following season.
I don't know about that.
I think that because I think that's the only way that Bieniemy is going to be taken, like he has an opportunity.
Let me explain to you why. Washington right now is in that position where they're trying to make them sell the team.
Yeah.
So if they sell the team, next year they'll have a new head coach.
Yeah.
Because new owners usually want to fire whoever's in charge and put somebody else in.
They also got rid of Wentz.
So that's as far as that goes. Their head coach is a defense-first coach.
Yeah.
But he's pretty good.
I was going to say, to me it was crazy. It's crazy because I don't think that I think he's just had a string of bad luck with the team. I think the team itself has been good.
They're solid.
They
play hard. They don't quit.
They're
but they, like you said, they've had some bad luck, some injuries, things like that have kept them from maximize their ability. But they were in contention for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was last season, not in the 2021 season, or it was the 2020 season. But whenever they had 3 quarterbacks that all got their legs broke. Back to back to back, and and they were a contending team. Everyone was talking about Washington, but they kept getting their quarterbacks
injured.
Yeah, and then I think it had to be 2021 or 2020 when that happened because then they drafted their new quarterback or whatever shortly after. Anyways, I think Rivera's done decent with the team. I mean, you can't control whether your players get hurt.
He's done as well as he could have.
Yeah, you can't control
with the circumstances that franchise has had.
Yeah, I don't think that you can control when an injury strikes your quarterback. You can't control when your quarterback decides to retire. And all that being said, so if he does lose his job over that, I feel bad for him because those are circumstances he couldn't control. You can control how you coach your team, how well they play or whatever, but you can't control injuries that affect how your team plays, But my theory has been, or is as of right now, Bieniemy has been put in place to potentially take over because we all know he hasn't been doing very well as interviewing for the starting position.
I don't even know if it's that.
Well...
that was the excuse that was put out there.
Yeah. But if that is, that's what I'm saying. I think if that's how they want to play it, okay, we'll do this. And I also want to say, I like the team, the Washington team, better than the Commanders. I'm just saying. I don't like the way the Commanders sounds. But nonetheless, I think that also means that we're going to see how well Patrick and Andy Reid is. No longer having Bieniemy there, because a lot of speculation has been.
Look, I'm gonna tell you why they'll be fine.
Go ahead.
So they had to adjust last year when the league adjusted to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
and it took them several games to do so, but they were able to.
Yeah.
Overall, you have Andy Reid who understands his quarterback needs control because he's smart and can handle it.
Yeah.
So anyone who he puts in as the OC is going to need to give Patrick Mahomes the Peyton Manning treatment.
Yeah.
You remember how Peyton Manning would have OCs and he'd pretty much say, okay, well, you can create the plays, but I'm the one that's calling them?
Yeah.
You're going to have to do that with Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is that dude.
Right. I'm not saying that. I'm because I mean that's been the speculation that Andy Reid's the one that's actually calling the plays. Yeah. That Bieniemy doesn't. So I'm just saying, we're gonna see who's better or not at this point.
I think you're gonna see them both be successful.
I think for Bieniemy is. I think the question of Bieniemy is gonna come out whether. We'll find out if he's as good as everyone thinks he is, or if he's actually worse than what they think he is.
Yeah, I think you'll see Bieniemy take a step back because whoever he's with isn't the best quarterback in football.
Definitely. One thing we do know
he's gonna suffer because of that.
One thing we know is Carson Wentz definitely is in a Patrick Mahomes, and they cut him already. Like Bieniemy said, "Oh yeah, I'm going over here." And then, like a week later, Carson Wentz got cut.
You know who I would love to see with him?
Who?
Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I would love to see that happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't.
But I would love to see that because Lamar needs someone who's going to work to his strengths.
Yep.
And I think Bieniemy is good enough to, not only work to Lamar's strengths, but also be to teach Lamar how to play quarterback more traditionally.
Okay.
And put him in position to succeed. But I don't think it's going to happen. But let's go ahead and take a look at some quarterbacks.
Okay.
Derek Carr was supposedly in the running for the New York Jets position.
Yep.
And after a whole bunch of hoopla by the Jets, he decided, you know what, let me just go to New Orleans. Do you think that's a good move for him?
I don't know if it's a... So I've never really been a big Carr fan.
I was more of a fan of his brother.
I think it was because of his brother. I wasn't a fan of him. But...
Well, his brother really suffered because he had no block. I think he went like 4 straight years or something like that of being the most hit quarterback.
I believe it.
And that's what killed his career.
Yeah.
Whereas with this guy, he learned from his brother's mistakes.
I mean, I don't think that he's the worst quarterback you could have. I think he's a really decent quarterback. He's just outside of that top 10 or top 11 that we always talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, just outside of it, he's but anyways, for him to be in New Orleans, I would say it would be a better situation if he was still going back to a New Orleans team of like 4 years ago.
Yeah, I got you.
Not with the new.
Right now, you don't really have a solidified number one receiver because Michael Thomas is all up in the air. You know what? You're right. He might have been better off going to Arizona.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone's taking Kyler Murray.
No.
So you couldn't really trade Kyler.
Right.
You just signed him to that big contract. But he...
I mean, when they were saying that he was up in the air, I was thinking...
You know who he is?
Who?
I think Derek Carr is Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins maybe is a little bit more consistent, but in reality, they're that quarterback that's good enough to say, I got a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
But, damn, I wish I had a better one.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins... I feel like that's a good analogy for him. Like he's not, he's a little bit younger than him, but yeah. Kirk Cousins actually just had the luck of having better teams.
Yeah. I mean, he's a solid quarterback.
Yeah. I thought the Vikings were crazy when they got him because I wouldn't out of who they had the year before. They had three really good quarterbacks, and I stand on this that I would have kept any one of those three quarterbacks over him.
Yeah.
The only problem with any of them was two of them got hurt. The third one played really well. I probably would have kept him and moving forward personally, let the other two go. But I don't. I think it would have been a better move for him maybe 4 years ago. Although 4 years ago his team was a better team in the Raiders. But I think for New Orleans it's a good thing. As weird as that sounds, like for him personally, I don't think that it's a good move for him. For New Orleans, of what they've been dealing with the last couple years, I don't know that they could have got much better of a quarterback to fall in their lap. So
I agree. I think Miami would have been a good destination for him.
I was thinking Miami as far as for
because
with the Tua talk, right?
When you look at Tua and you don't know what you have with him, I think that's why. If I'm Miami, I would have taken a much closer look at him there.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was a potential spot. I actually thought that's where he was going to go. I didn't even factor in the Saints personally.
No, I was kind of blindsided by it. I was like, okay, I mean, it makes sense. You needed a quarterback, but I didn't see that happening. So, Daniel Jones essentially gets the Dak Prescott contract.
Oh, wow. I actually didn't. You put him on the paper. I didn't know anything about.
So, he got like 4 years, 160. I think essentially the first 2 years are like the most guaranteed. I think he has the first 2 years he gets 41 apiece.
Yeah.
That 160, I don't think. I think only 82 is guaranteed or something like that. But anyways, when you look at that move, I think it's a smart move because I think Daniel Jones proved, okay, I'm an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
And there's so often teams that don't have that. You have backups playing starter.
Yeah.
And I think Daniel Jones proved that he's starter quality. But would you have done that?
I mean, with the way they played this past season, I wouldn't have a big reason not to. If you're going on the idea of like we're gonna be contending the next few years and we have what we need to, as I always say, the good bone structure. We have enough bones here that we can build something off of this, based off of this previous season. I don't think that it was a bad move, and if you can lock in somebody sooner rather than later, and especially if he doesn't have the is what most people would say the Zeke, where he's got a big guarantee for the next thing or whatever. Like you got him on a Patrick deal, like early on, nothing really promised yet, just enough to if he takes us to a Super Bowl next year in the next 2 years, and we got him for a steal. Because after he goes to that Super Bowl, he's going to want more money.
So they say that the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at Daniel Jones, you got that. You have someone who you don't have to worry about their injuries.
Yeah.
He's been there. I'm not saying he's been good.
No.
Because this is the first year that he showed. But you know what? That's what it should be.
Yeah.
You should have a quarterback that gets a chance take his lumps, and show you, okay, after a couple of seasons, I'm what y'all were needing. So I deserve that next contract.
So, with the talk of all these quarterbacks and whatever, each season, you know about the college teams more so than I do, but each draft, they're like, oh, this season is a wide receiver class, and next season's going to be a quarterback season, whatever the case is. With that being said, I don't know what the quarterback landscape is in this upcoming season is going to look like. And there's a few teams that are on the market needing quarterbacks. And when you're looking at the talent pool, I'm assuming they don't have a good talent pool because they're still looking at some of these quarterbacks and they're paying high dollar for some of these quarterbacks.
Yes, sir.
That, either we're looking at like, man, they're kind of washed. I don't know if you would even want to entertain that idea, or, well, you do need a quarterback and he's better than, what else is out there.
Yes, sir.
That being said, I'm kind of curious because I have a feeling someone's going to buy into this hype for Cooper Rush and they're going to do something stupid, and I really want to see it.
Look for that after the draft.
Yeah.
And I say that because you're going to have a team who was really expecting to draft a quarterback
Yeah.
miss out because somebody jumps over them and
Definitely.
stuff like that. So then what you're going to have is maybe a Chicago
Yeah.
who says, yeah, no, we had Justin Fields, and I know we said we trusted him, but let's have him compete with Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
And fuck themselves up,
Yeah. I feel like that, like something just tells me there's so much media hype around this. And I don't think that, I think he even believed in a lot of this hype that they had around him, that he thinks that he deserves a starting position. And so I'm curious to see who's the team that fucks around and finds out what me and you've been saying all season about how he is not. And a lot of people are looking at me like I'm crazy, but I promise you, my whole issue with Cooper Rush is he's been in the league just as long as Dak Prescott, and he played like Dak Prescott played his rookie year.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see it because I just want to laugh in everyone's face whenever he's exposed of not being that guy. And I'll gladly eat my words if he turns out to be the fucking guy that I didn't think he could be. But
so speaking of which, Dak Prescott right now,
okay,
if you look at the NFC,
okay,
who is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott in the NFC right now?
In the NFC right now,
going into this next season.
Man, I hate to do this, and I'm only going to do it strictly based on the fact that he went to the Super Bowl and got a chance to play. Is I'm going to say Jalen.
You're going to say Jalen Hurts is actually better than Dak?
I'm going to say that. I know it's crazy. And I'm going to say that based on the fact that he at least made it to the Super Bowl. He's still very young.
Okay.
He's still learning.
Let me counter that. How did Jalen play in the 2 games leading up to the Super Bowl?
Leading up to it?
Yeah. In those 2 games leading up to the Super Bowl.
I mean, he wasn't impressive.
So how'd he do?
I mean, he got the job done. I'm going off of he made it to the Super Bowl. Yes, he lost. He's still only, the second, third year in the league? Like, he's got a lot of uphill.
Okay, I hear you, but if you're going to sit there and tell me that he's better than Dak Prescott, you know how many yards he had combined throwing yards in those 2 games?
I don't think he had 400, right?
Okay. He had 275 combined passing yards.
Yeah. They relied a lot on their run game.
So when you look at it, he had 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. I'm talking about passing stats for him.
Yeah.
Rushing stats, it wasn't even that impressive either, though.
Yeah.
One game he had 34 yards. The next game he had 39. And I'm talking about the 2 games leading up to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
16 of 24, 15 of 25 passing. So when I look at what he did,
yeah,
right, I'm not seeing that and saying that's why Philly got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Philly was a complete team. He actually makes a difference in how well they play.
Yeah.
Because when he's in there, they look legit.
Yeah.
When he's not,
Yeah.
they don't. So I realize that he factors into them playing well, right?
Yeah.
But I also look at it and I know it's not.
So when you ask this question, are we talking?
When
Are we
I'm
talking
picking
actual
a quarterback? You're available. All these guys are available.
Yeah.
Why am I taking Hurts over Dak?
I get you. And I'm looking at these teams. And honestly, the only one that I personally would take
Is Rodgers.
No, not even Rodgers played like ass last year.
He
I
did.
wouldn't go off of that. The only one out of everyone in the NFC East.
No, not the NFC East.
I mean, not
the
East.
NFC.
Not the East. I mean, NFC. The only one that I would honestly take is the Lions quarterback. I can't think of his name at the moment. Former Ram. He's the only one.
Wow. You would take him over Dak?
Yeah.
Why? Dak's always outdone him.
Dak's always had a better team than he has.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so?
How did he get to the Super Bowl?
Okay, I guess the word isn't always.
Okay, so then
I guess the word isn't always, but has had better teams than him.
Dak's a part of the reason why.
Yeah,
And when
and I think they were out on him before he was able to do it again. I don't think Goff was the reason the Rams didn't get a second chance at the Super Bowl. We both said that, Stafford and him being traded.
Look, he is not as good as Stafford.
Right.
Okay? Like, when Stafford's healthy,
Yeah.
Stafford's a better quarterback.
Yeah.
Goff did end up losing his confidence.
Yeah.
Like, when you saw him play in Los Angeles, there's
Yeah.
a point where he lost his confidence.
I mean,
And I think that's what took him out. I think when he got that opportunity in Detroit, and
Yeah.
they didn't just, yank him out because he wasn't playing great,
yeah.
and they challenged him, and they said, look, we need you to be better. And they
Yeah.
called him out in public, but still didn't yank him out. I think that's what showed him the ability, okay, let me just do what I can do.
Yeah.
The only quarterback in the NFC who I think you could possibly legitimately claim is better than Dak is the first quarterback that you said, Hurts, because he did get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. If you're gonna argue that, I can have counter arguments, but at the same time,
I would also
believe that more. There's no way in God's green earth I would ever put Jared Goff in front of Dak as of what they've done now. If you go back to the second season, that was the only time that Goff had a better season than Dak.
I think
Dak's
Goff
rookie year, he outdid him.
I will say
The second
Dak
year,
has a better
Goff had better season because that was Dak's.
So
low
going off
point.
the NFC, I'm going off of, like I said, Jalen Hurts, definitely somebody I would look at. I would go off of Goff. I think Goff has a better arm than people give him credit for.
No, Goff is a good. Goff has more natural talent
Yeah.
than Dak. I think Dak's a better quarterback than Goff.
I think what makes Dak a better quarterback is he's better. As much as I hear bad things about him as a teammate, I think he's a better teammate to his team. At least the ones that he clicks with. I think he's a better. I think that's probably the problem with Goff. The problem with Wentz, like they don't know how to become part of the team. They're so busy. I am a quarterback, and they're playing the quarterback role. not so much the I'm a team player, which makes the difference with the Jalen Hurts. Is like we were just saying, when he's there, he makes a difference. The team plays better as a whole when he's in there. Again, and I guess it's because I'm going off of my belief that they are better than whether they're showing it or not. Because even Jimmy G, if he could stay healthy, I would say that he's a.
You would say he's better than Dak.
I would at least consider him. I wouldn't necessarily he's better.
Okay, see, I'm asking better. I'm not saying on par. I'm saying who's better.
Oh, well, in that case, I can't say anyone's better. Like I said, I'd only put...
That's my point.
Yeah, Jalen's... Again, I've said Jalen only because he went to the Super Bowl. Outside of that, there's no other qualifier that I would say that like puts him above him.
There is no one in the NFC as it stands now.
Right.
Who is better than Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And the reason I judge him by the NFC is because that's really who you're going up against to make it to the championship.
Yeah.
The Cowboys... For all their fan feelings or whatever, are in a position where people are thinking you need to get rid of Dak.
Yeah, I hate that.
That said, if they were paying attention, there's no one in the NFC that's better than Dak. So if you're going to say we need to get rid of him, for what? What is out there that you can improve on? You can't improve on him based on what's available now. If you're going to draft somebody because you think, okay, this guy's going to be better, I'm going to tell you, within the first 3 seasons, which are the seasons that Dak still was under contract, you're not going to get anybody that's better than him.
You know, on my half episode, the top quarterbacks that I said are in the league, and this is overall. Most of them are in the AFC. But Burrow, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert.
Guys we talked about earlier.
Yes. And then there's that. And I went on that tangent for what you're saying. Who are you going to get to replace him? Like, and then anything other than that you want to argue, they're starting to show that they're not as good. Russell Wilson, not as good as he once was. Was it the team or was it him? Some people would say, like, oh, you put him behind the Cowboys, he plays better. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Those pre-qualifiers, those things that, like, we were just making fun of Skip Bayless for, I was never all in on Josh Allen. Now you're not all in on Josh Allen after this season because you've been kissing his ass the entire last whatever seasons he's been in the league. But, yeah, that's what we're always talking about. We're always talking about these pre-qualifiers and the and these sports, what everyone wants to talk about. Oh, you know, but Dak threw all these interceptions and whatever. We need a better quarterback. Who are you going to get? Who else is out there that's honestly outplaying him? As I did on the half episode, I went through how many interceptions everybody had, how many people have been in the league for as long as they have. Like, there's not anybody else out there competing at the level that he's competing at. You can't take him out without having somebody else. You want to draft another quarterback, as we just said. I don't know that this upcoming season is the season for you to draft a quarterback. Maybe there's one, and if you don't have that draft pick to get him, guess what? You're going to end up with Derek Carr. You're going to end up with Cooper Rush. If you're
lucky, because otherwise you'll end up with a Cooper Rush,
right? So you're going to buy into the hype. Cooper Rush is the guy because that's what I've heard everyone say. Cut Dak. Let's run with Cooper Rush. Horrible idea. Horrible.
It's the Chad Hutchison, post Troy Aikman 5 seasons. Of nobodies.
Right.
That's what you're looking at.
Right.
So, all right. Look, we've ran about an hour.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up now and be back with them soon.
All right, guys. Well, you know what that means. If you guys want to follow us, you can follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at SleepyJSLEEP_E_J. You can follow Coach Rudy on Twitter
at RudyV1982.
Until next time, take it easy.
Peace.